Welcome, Ascenders, to the Ascended Thoughts Podcast. I'm your host, Mystic Rain. The pandemic is fueling a massive awakening on a gross scale. I'm talking a global shift in the collective consciousness. People's vibrations are raising, people's frequencies are going up, and with that, people start to recognize the things that no longer serve them. We have been living in a time where people have convinced you that it is okay to wake up every single day of your life and go to work. They have convinced you that you are not slaves, and they have used this new word called employees. For those in America, they have convinced us all that it is okay not to have health insurance, and that in order to have health insurance, we must have a job that offers it to us. And what happens to the people that don't have that particular luxury? Whether they are out of work or they have an employer that doesn't offer them health insurance at all. We have been fed lies about our education system and been told that they were actually educating us. We have come to find out that that is not indeed the case. We are learning that all of our systems are completely insufficient to serve our highest and our best good. Ascenders, I want you to go back and think of a time that's not that long ago, quite recent, only a few months, when the world felt like it was bursting in flames, when people all over the world, in many different countries, were rioting, were trying to get their elected and appointed officials out of office. The world not too long ago was in a place where the people said enough is enough. Remember not too long ago when the world was incredibly violent and people were dying for no reason and everyone was looking at each other saying enough is enough, like we have to do something about this. We have to fix this. We have to stop this. And the people collectively were joining together in order to make that happen. Now think about today and what that landscape looks like. Consider the fact that the world leaders have found a way to lock the entire world down. Your world leaders have found a way to keep us all housed under something that they call stay-at-home orders. And if we violate those orders, we risk going to jail. The world leaders have put us all under house arrest, and people aren't even talking about it, over something called COVID-19. Now, regardless of how COVID-19 got here, regardless of whether or not it came off a bat, regardless of whether or not it was created in a lab, there's more to this. There is divine will that's involved in this whole situation. It's something that's so much larger than the regular person will be able to understand. But what these world leaders neglected to consider was the fact that when this all happens, it was going to spark a massive awakening. Why? The reason for that, Ascenders, is because you cannot continue to do bad things and expect the same results. It'll get to the point where things are so bad that people actually start to recognize it. They start to wake up to it. They start to realize that they are not an individual and that they are in fact a part of the collective consciousness, and that what happens to other people in fact affects them as well. So we have all of these people who are now ascending. Everybody's vibration is rising. Everyone's frequency is increasing. And with that, we're starting to realize that the systems that are currently in place were systems that were founded by people with lower vibrations and lower frequencies. They are low vibe systems, and they can no longer support a collective consciousness whose vibration and frequency is higher than itself. And that is the problem that we are starting to see today. We are starting to see all these low vibe systems begin to collapse because they're no longer working. You cannot build on cracked foundation. They will continue to collapse. Things will continue to seem like they're going up in flames. Things will continue to seem like they're not making any sense. Because in order to rebuild something that serves the greater good, you have to rebuild it on fresh, level ground. While that's rebuilding, many of you are going to experience this awakening. It's going to be very confusing for a lot of you. A lot of you guys are going to feel very empowered, Some of you may even feel a sense of deep inner peace because you know that on the outside of this, it's going to be okay. But I want to speak to the ascenders that haven't reached that point yet, that haven't reached the point and that part of the ascension process. I'm speaking to the ascenders right now that are worried, that are depressed, that are sad, that are anxious. I'm talking to the ascenders that at the moment cannot see a light at the end of the tunnel. I want to assure you, ascenders, that there is in fact a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a light at the end of every tunnel. And you are part of the process. You are part of the team that's going to help the collective consciousness gets to where it needs to be. You feel as low as you feel because of all of the vibrations and the frequencies that are shifting on the planet at the moment. The planet right now is the farthest thing from being what you can consider neutral. You have an entire planet that's facing a plague. You have people who are dying. You have people that are afraid that they could be next. And everybody right now is worried. When you have one person emit a frequency of worry, and that person gets too close to somebody else, that person begins to worry. You ever noticed that if you have a phone call with one of your really good friends and that person starts complaining a lot, that when you get off that phone call, you immediately begin to feel drained, or maybe your mood has shifted and you're in a bad mood, or you're irritable, and that may be someone that when you see them call, you say to yourself, "Oh no, I can't talk to that person right now. I don't have time for this. I don't have the mental bandwidth to deal with them right now. They always make me feel so down when I get off the phone." Now take that and multiply it exponentially at a global level. That is why you're feeling what it is that you're feeling. You've got millions, billions actually, billions of people emitting the lowest frequency that exists, which is the frequency of fear. And billions of people are doing it, which makes it incredibly strong. And the people that are susceptible to succumb to this frequency are the people with simple minds. What I'm telling you to do is to strengthen your mind, strengthen your resolve, recognize that you are unbelievably strong and unbelievably powerful. You are literally created from stardust. You are one with the stars. You are one with the galaxy. You are one with this universe. You are one with the multiverse. Under normal circumstances, when you're not in a meat suit, you are a divine, multidimensional, interdimensional being. You are much stronger than what's happening right now on this earth, on this planet, on this one planet. I need you, Ascender, to remind yourself who you really are and the strength that you do possess. You have overcome everything that you've overcome in your life thus far, and under no circumstance whatsoever are you going to allow yourself to accept the idea that you will be taken out by Corona. You need to allow yourself to have enough resolve to say enough is enough. I am the magician of my own life, and I choose what happens to me. And that is no different for this particular situation that's happening right now. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help the greater good. I'm going to align with the collective consciousness. The sooner you fall into alignment with your true purpose here on this earth and in this particular incarnation, and your alignment is to simply assist the greater good or the collective consciousness, however which way it works for you, right? There is no judgment in that territory. Once you allow yourself to get there mentally, all the lowness, the low vibrations, the low frequencies that you feel that you're currently experiencing will dispel. Allow yourself, Ascender, to snap out of the simulation that you are under. Allow yourself, Ascender, to snap out of the programming that you have been put under. Oh yes, lots of programming. Lots of programming. Even you turn on the TV, that's programming. That's why it's called a TV program, right? Lots of programming. Allow yourself to understand that this is, in fact, the Matrix, and you are, in fact, under a simulation. And it is your decision to break out of it if you choose to. Tune in to what is currently going on so you can actually then go and tune out of it. It is not the end of the world. There is another side on top of this. But if you feel heavily affected by this, then you need to know that you are heavily affected because you are waking up. The awakening process, and a lot of people don't actually talk about this, can be quite excruciating and very painful for a lot of people. Because when you start to wake up, you're waking up to the fact that there are so many things around you that do not serve your highest good or serve the highest good of the collective. It saddens you because what you'll start to see is that everything around you is harsh. It's harsh. It's mean. It's unforgiving. It's inconsiderate. And so when you start to wake up to those ideas and those facts, it can be incredibly disheartening. And so you go through this period in your awakening process where you almost feel like, well, what's the point? If this is all that there is, if this is life, if this is all that I'm offered, what's the point of going on? But there is a point of going on, Ascender. The point of going on is for you to ascend this process, for your soul to evolve. How does your soul evolve if there's no lessons for your soul to then learn and overcome? If there's no challenges for you to conquer? This is part of your evolution as a soul. This is part of your spirit's journey. That's why this is all happening. And when you start to become aware of what's going on, it then becomes your responsibility to do something. It only takes one person to change the world. People think that they have to commit this grandiose act of changing the world without realizing that your contribution to that can be saying words of encouragement to one person that you've noticed is having a bad day. And that word of encouragement could have come at a time when that person felt like no one believed in them. And then that person goes on and they create the cure for cancer. You are never more than a conversation away from being someone that contributes to the world changing. You need to allow yourself to find and harness that power that exists within you, because it's always been there. None of this, well, what do I do? Well, what books do I read? Well, how do I find my power? If I meditate for X amount of hours, will I get there? Will I find it? No. That's nonsense. The reason why you have a hard time finding your inner power is because you're searching for something that already exists. Should I say that again? You're searching for someone or for something that already exists. Your power is already within you. It's already there. So now you have to ask yourself, okay, so the power exists because it came with me when I incarnated. What now? Well, now you need the heart, and now you need the balls. Your heart is your passion for something that you want to be involved with, that you want to contribute to, that you want to change. And the balls, Ascender, is the audacity to do it. And when you start awakening, you have the responsibility to contribute. You have the responsibility to contribute to the evolution of the collective consciousness. And your contribution can simply be cutting someone a little bit of slack because maybe they're just having a bad day. Because when someone does something you don't like, you have to look at it from an ascended perspective, right? Ascend every situation. So look at it from an ascended perspective. Make the decision to take a step back and to give that person space because they are not where you are at a frequency level. Sometimes that mercy is enough to help somebody on their ascension journey. Just show a little bit of mercy, a little bit of kindness, and operate from your heart center. It is no mistake that you are feeling what it is that you are feeling. It is no mistake that you have blips of worry or that you have surprise anxiety or panic attacks right now. That maybe you're in a position where you feel like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. I don't know how I'm going to feed myself. I don't know how I'm going to feed my family. But what you need to do in that moment is allow yourself to ascend. Recognize that you are the most powerful being that has ever walked this planet. And know that all of those answers are going to come to you in due time. I want you to remember, Ascenders, that you are not in this alone, that the world is facing a global pandemic. As a result, the world is suffering. I'm not going to say in the same way, but mentally and spiritually and emotionally, a lot of the suffering of the world is similar. Everyone is scared. Fear, that's the same frequency. On that level, everyone can relate to each other. You are not on this journey alone. Fear, worry, anxiety, unfortunately, is part of the initiation process. For all initiates, for all ascenders, fear is part of the initiation process. Fear is part of the initiation process. It's a part of the initiation process because once you start this journey, you're going to be faced with a lot of things that you're not going to have the answer to. You're going to be faced with a lot of things that are going to startle you. But perhaps, most importantly, something that I have noticed on my journey is that you're going to be faced with more people who are afraid and who don't have the answer. And they're going to come to you for guidance. In order to assist the collective from a place of ascension, you have to have known what it felt like. How do you help someone? Through their fear, through their spiritual journey, through their enlightenment, without first knowing what that walk feels like for yourself. For a lot of you, this is the beginning of that journey. This is the beginning of that walk. For a lot of you, this is you taking off your shoes and stepping over hot coals for the first time. And guess what? It is hot. It is hot, hot, hot. But that's okay, because it's not going to be hot forever. You have to remember that everything is temporary. Nothing is set in stone. And that is the one thing that we know is true. Everything else you can debate, but we all know that everything is temporary and nothing is set in stone. Allow yourself to make it through the initiation process, Ascenders. Allow yourself to know and to remember that every time you feel overwhelmed is because you're in the process of waking up. That every time you feel stressed or worried or anxious, it's because you are in the process of waking up. And waking up, Ascenders, well, it hurts like hell. But welcome. Because those of us that are already in the process of ascension, we need you. Because we're all part of the greater good and we're all part of the collective consciousness. We need you. And you will start to find more of us on your spiritual journey. And we will start banding together as a collective. And you will start to notice that on your walk through this period of your time where you're going to start to come across people that are like-minded. You're going to start to come across people that are elevating, whose frequency is starting to go up. You're going to start to come across people who are questioning everything that they're coming across, questioning everything that they see on TV, questioning everything that they hear on the news, questioning everything that they read in an article. You're going to start to see everybody questioning. And the reason for that is because people are starting to realize that the whole thing is a simulation, and therefore it is all smoke and mirrors. It's one massive magic trick. And you know what? Sometimes that realization sucks. Sometimes it sucks to feel like you've been manipulated or you were put in a situation where at the moment you feel like you can't get out of. But that's okay, because you're ascending. And in this process, you're going to learn what are high vibrational thoughts and what are low vibrational thoughts. And in this process, you're going to learn what are low vibrational and low frequency thought patterns. When you start to become aware of all these things, it's going to be way easier for you to fight them. It's going to be way easier for you to manage your mental health. But again, it's part of the initiation process. Remember that you are not alone and that this is just one global awakening. You will start to see things shift. You will start to see a change in systems. You will start to see a change in education and how we educate our little ones. You will start to see a shift in people's lifestyles and people's habits, and you will start to see a shift in other people's priorities, and most importantly, your own priorities. Eventually, you will get to a place where you will start to notice that you will live your life in a much high vibrational way, and that you will begin choosing higher words, higher frequency words that leave your mouth. It's all part of the process, and we will get there together collectively. Allow yourself to take a deep breath. Take a deep, deep breath. Inhale, exhale, and sit with the inner knowing. Allow your spirit to really bask in the inner knowing that you will be okay. Stay inspired and keep ascending.